Guys, welcome back to my channel. This video I've actually done 3 times. I feel like I've been conflicted. For one, this is an easy video. For 2, I had so many different opinions in my ear and I felt like I was being like tugged. I wanted to really figure out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to approach the situation before I put the video out.
So if you guys didn't already know, MTV personality Nev Schulman has recently been accused of sexual misconduct. These accusations are coming from a woman named Ayissha Morgan, who appeared on Catfish, Nev's show, in 2015 and has now made 3 separate videos all describing her experiences on Catfish. For those of you who may not have seen Catfish before, it's basically a show that follows the journeys of couples who have formed an online relationship but have never met in person. Because of these accusations, MTV has halted production of Catfish in order to investigate Nev and all of Ayissha's claims. So what I want to do is look at the 2 videos that Ayissha made on Nev specifically and break down her body language while she's telling the story. Be sure to check out all of the disclaimers on body language down below in the description. And I thought it would be kind of interesting for me to talk about this story because I've had personal experiences with Nev Schulman. Yeah, I actually went out of my way to go see Nev Schulman speak whenever he came to my college last year. So at the end of this video, I'll put in some of my own personal experiences with Nev, and I guess from there we can kind of have a chat about how I personally feel about Nev Schulman and the types of vibes that I got from him whenever I saw him and met him last year. Alright, now let's get into the video.
I don't want any money. I don't want anything from these people. I'm well off. I own a business. My bank account's looking good, so I definitely don't need any money. That's definitely like not even a thought. Like I would never put a situation like this out there for money. This is a serious situation and I would never lie about anything that has to do with this topic.
See, this is the type of thing that deters me from people like her. She instantly tries to sell us the idea that she's completely against making up a story in order to gain money. But here's the thing. When you take into account her humble brag along with her stiff body, the only thing that's moving on her is her arms. Her increasing blink rate and the fact that she's suppressing a smile on 2 occasions while saying this, to me, it reads as though the money that she may or may not be making from all 3 of her Catfish videos isn't a problem in any way, shape, or form. And I'm sure on some level she likes the exposure that this type of story will bring her. But I don't want to judge her too harshly right away, so let's continue the video.
Alright, so let's start off with names. I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of the show. I'm gonna name the 2 main people on the show, which you guys know who I'm talking about, obviously. Jack and John. Jack being the main person. Stay with me here. The first time I met Jack and John, Jack was like, oh, you're really pretty and you look like a doll and blah blah, and like, I'm not against compliments. I'm not a prude. Like, compliment me up the ass if you want. That didn't bother me. It was the excessiveness that bothered me.
So the thing that bothers me, I'm just gonna interject here, is the fact that she's verbally recalling this, right? So she's thinking back to the time that she first met Nev. And you can tell that by the things that she's saying, but her failure to break eye contact and the stiffness that she's portraying, there's no memory in that. Like, I don't know where she's getting that from, but it's definitely not pulling from anything that she truly remembers. Now keep in mind, she just started her story, so this is the time where she needs to set the table. She needs to lay out how the rest of the story is going to go. And with the very first mention of Nev in this story, she's not even thinking about him. So I'm willing to say at most, I think Nev might have said, oh, you're very pretty. Let's get real.
On every break from filming, every time they said cut, you're like, oh, well, when can I take you on a date? Mind you, this is like 20 minutes in to us meeting for the very first time. I was in such an uncomfortable place and a freaking hard time in my life as well. I was at my most vulnerable, and I was at this really fucked up place in my life, and I have this guy over here making me like 3 times as uncomfortable as I already am. I'm not gonna lie, I thought that he was just bullshitting and trying to make me feel like, trying to make me laugh and feel comfortable because everyone could see how uncomfortable I was. If you guys see how I'm looking, I have a mirror right there and I'm home alone and I'm scared shitless because my reflection is moving to the side of me. So if you see me keep looking off to the side, I'm looking at myself. Well, I'm like it's the mirror. I keep looking out over it to make sure it's not a fucking ghost.
Can someone tell me why this grown-ass woman is afraid of her own reflection? But in all seriousness, that little break that she has, she does that a lot throughout this video. And I've mentioned breaks in the brains, i.e. breaks in the thought process, quite a bit on my channel. The reason why you'll see people go through these periods of being very stiff and seeming as though they're constructing a lot of their story, and then they'll break off and like make a joke about something, or they'll scratch their nose, or they'll play with their hair. It's because they're focusing way too much on the words that are coming out of their mouth, and because of this, their thought process gets way too overloaded and they fall off track, so they need that break in order to kind of recollect themselves. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that this is a sign of deception, but whenever you're telling a story, especially an emotional one, you don't tend to have those breaks because you tend to be writing one continuous flow. And that flow, whenever you're telling an emotional story that follows, is what we call singing. And a singing body is whenever the brain and the body are working together to convey a message. So I just find it interesting that throughout this entire video, she doesn't let herself stay on one continuous straightforward path. But I'm sure we'll touch on that more later.
Fast forward, when we had to fly to Houston. We're at the airport and we're sitting there, and I was like, I knew he was gonna he was gonna end up picking up the conversation from when he was trying to get to the previous day. Like, out of the blue, he goes, "So I don't think you're a lesbian." I was like, "Oh, and why do you feel that way?" And he was just like, "Because, like, you know, I just feel like you haven't met the right guy yet, and do you think I'm attractive, and have you ever had sex with a guy?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Well, I think you should try it. I have a big I would tear your ass up. God strike me down right now if I'm lying."
Yeah, to save you guys a long drawn-out explanation, this is one of the most blatant lies I think I've ever heard.
And just kept saying, like, "I don't feel like you're a lesbian. I feel like you need to reevaluate, and I'm the person you should do it with." Just like anything you could possibly say to make someone extremely uncomfortable. Let me move this little mirror right here.
You see what I mean?
So we land in Houston, we get to the airport. They put me, Jack, John, and one cameraman in a van because the guy had called security. So they put us in a van and sent us to the hotel right away. Mind you, it's like 1:30 in the morning. So we have to be up at like 6 a.m. to film. So everybody's just trying to get to sleep and figure out the hotel situation, get our room keys and all that good stuff. Then the crew gets there and everybody's like getting their keys and sorting out their stuff or whatever. And my producer goes, "Hey, you can, hi baby." It's my puppy, you guys. So my producer goes, "Hey, if you have your room key, you can head up because you have to be up early. Like, it's fine. Like, you can head up." And I was like, "Okay." And then Jack comes up to me and he whispers, he goes, "After they bring your luggage upstairs, up to your room, call me and we can hang out." He was like, "Are you down to hang out?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." I didn't know, like, I don't know. I thought we were all going to hang out. There was a bar. Everybody was talking about the bar in the hotel. So I didn't know what we were going to do. I didn't know what hanging out consisted of. But I knew, like, you know, I thought we were probably going to go to the bar or whatever. I go to my room and they bring my bags and I call them and I call him and I go, "Hey, like, they brought my bags." And he goes, "Okay, I'm gonna come over." And I was like, "Okay." So he comes in and he's like, "Oh, we can hang out in here." And I was like, "Okay." Mind you, at this point, it's like almost 3 a.m.
So not only is this story hard to believe from a body language point of view, but it's also hard to believe just trying to follow logically what she's saying. So she starts off by saying that by the time everyone had gotten to the hotel, it was like 1:30 a.m. And they all had to be up at 6 a.m. in order to film, so they were all focused on getting their stuff up to their rooms and going to sleep. But then for some reason this idea of a bar comes into play. But anyways, if we try to follow her story, from 1:30 to like 3 a.m. she was just moving her stuff up to her room? That's hard to believe, but okay.
And so my room had 2 beds. So I was on one bed and he was on another bed. And we were watching, what do you know? Take a wild guess. So we were just watching TV and then I'm like on my phone and I post a picture on Instagram and with like a really with a caption because I write poetry. So he was just like, "Oh, like, you know, your poetry's really dope and blah, blah. And I'm like, thank you. And we were just talking about that. And for once, I felt like we were having like a cool conversation and he wasn't being a damn weirdo, you know? So then it's like a long pause, and then a few minutes later he goes, do you want to smoke? And I was like, no, I don't smoke. And he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, do you want to, you can smoke like in here, I don't care. And he was just like, no, I was just seeing if you smoked or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. Then he goes, do you want to cuddle? And I was
No fucking way. Did she do this? Wait, what? Really? Okay, honestly, using likes as a way to get a part 2 of this story? If that doesn't say cash grab, I don't fucking know what does. In my mind, this right here just completely demolished any type of credibility she had whatsoever. You go on this fake noble crusade at the beginning of the video talking about like, I only want to post this, you know, just so no one else has to go through what I went through. And then you pull a 500 likes for part 2. You know, I just realized upon editing this that I'm not gonna have time to put her part 2 into this video, because if I do, it's gonna make it like 20 minutes and I don't want to bore you guys for that long. So don't completely hate me, but it looks like I'm gonna be doing a part 2 on her part 2. Okay, yup. I don't know, I was just really thrown off by this 500 likes for part 2, so I'll see you guys on my part 2, I guess. But yeah, that's all for this video, and I hope you guys have a great day.